The scars are really the roadmap to your health. All the other stuff, we're just going through it just to get there. And when a lot of people go to practitioners and they're like, oh, I did this and that and I felt great, but it came back, it's because you did not treat the real root of the problem.
Welcome to the Myers Detox Podcast. I'm Dr. Wendy Myers, and on this show, we talk about everything related to heavy metal and chemical detoxification, the health issues caused by toxins, but we also talk about bioenergetics and anti-aging and advanced topics in health. And today, our guest is Julie EHealth. She's going to be talking about how scars cause many, many health issues and how to address them with mud packing therapy, castor oil, cupping, and other things we talk about on the show. We also delve into tattoos and how tattoos cause scarring as well as root canals. Really, really interesting show today. And so we're going to be talking about how scars can disrupt the energy flow in the body, the meridians, leading to various health issues. We'll talk about how mud packing therapy is an effective treatment for scars and detoxification. It pulls out a lot of toxins that are being harbored in scars. We also talk about other treatments like castor oil and how to use it, light therapy, lasers, and cupping to address scars. We also talk about how scars include visible scars like on the skin, internal injuries, surgeries, piercings, tattoos, and dental work like root canals. We talk about how scars can disrupt the energy flow in your fascia, which is the connective tissue around all your muscles and skin and things like that. And that can lead to toxin accumulation and blocked organ function in the scarred area. It really has a big effect. And we talk about also how mud packing can be used to pull toxins out of that scar, body parts, including inside the mouth for root canals and genital area. It's really interesting. And we'll also talk about how Julie has a mud packing course as well. And she teaches others how to do mud packing and all the many, many benefits that we'll discuss today on the show. So our guest, Julie EHealth, she's a registered dietitian, a functional medicine expert. She's a master of QRA and holds a master's degree in public health and has a passion for helping people improve their health through simple solutions and her infinite tool chest of remedies. And for over 3 decades, Julie has been helping people find the root of their health ailments and treating them naturally. And she's also reversed her telomeres and cellular health to that of a 12-year-old. And her international practice includes parents, kids, pets, celebrities, and athletes. You can learn more about her work and take her mud packing course at julieehealth.com. Julie, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Wendy.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
In high school, my older friends were exercising and I started catching rides to the gym with them. And as soon as I got a car, I started working at a gym and taught fitness classes, and all the elderly people were like, oh, you're so lucky you're starting young. And to me, it was just fun. And then college, somehow I ended up deciding to go to school to study nutrition. So I went to the #2 school of public health and I got a combined degree in public health and my master's in nutrition, became a registered dietitian, learned that potato chips and French fries count as a vegetable.
Yeah, don't you
And
just love the 80s, the 90s?
yeah,
I had the same thing too. I'd be eating my French fries. Oh, yeah, vegetables.
yeah. As it turns out, while I was studying nutrition was actually the heaviest I've ever been in my life, other than when I was pregnant. So then I moved to New York City and I was still working in fitness and nutrition at Chelsea Piers and started my own little business on the side of nutrition consulting. And one thing led to another because I was so interested in learning about vitamins because they told us in school you didn't need any. And I didn't believe that. And so I ended up at an Institute for Functional Medicine conference with Jeffrey Bland. And I was like, finally, someone that's talking my language. And so 22 years of that led me down numerous other paths with QRA and functional medicine. And now I do a combination of everything.
Okay, great. Yeah, and so I wanted to have you come on to talk about scars because I think people don't realize how scars can negatively impact your health. And a lot of people have plastic surgery scars. They've got, scars from injuries and various things. And so I want to talk about that and how scars can expand with age and causing various issues. And first, why don't we start with defining what scars actually are?
A scar is really any cut on the body. Usually you see them. Sometimes you don't see them, right? Some people get like a trauma to the head. You can't see a visible scar, but that also counts. So it's injuries, it's traumas and scars is how I look at it. And I'm going to add on that in that category, we also look at piercings, tattoos, and dental infection, dental health as well. So if there's a root canal or if there was an implant, these are all traumatic to the body, potentially traumatic to the body. And the body, everywhere on the body, there should be energy. We are energy beings. And when there's a scar, it's like sometimes there's a little detour of energy. And over time, the body does this detour for a while. And now, where the scar is, your body's like, that's a perfect place for a garbage can. So all your toxins end up storing in that area. And the truth is that not every scar becomes problematic in someone's life, but we go through and assess all your scars and traumas over the course of your lifetime. And that is the roadmap to health. I know you didn't ask me that part yet.
Yeah, but in studying bioenergetics, I was really shocked to learn that when you have a scar, when your body, because your body communicates energetically, like on the meridians and in the through the fascia, that layer underneath our skin, and this is a communication highway where the body is sending important messages. And when you have a scar in some place, it either doesn't make it, or it gets scrambled, or you have a breakdown in physical function where that scar is, or the organ near the scar. And that's a big problem, you know, that's a big problem. So I think it's important for people to think of scars in this way. It's not just some benign kind of annoying looking thing on your skin or inside you from a surgery. It can cause problems. So I think I wanted to bring some awareness about scars and how to deal with them by having you come on the show. And so you've talked about how, when we were talking earlier, you're talking about how scars are the cause of all of our health ailments. So can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So you mentioned meridians. So in the East, they talk about the chakras and meridians, the energy channels, and the chi of the kidneys and the flow around your body. Here we talk just about the blood and the arteries, the veins, the capillaries. But when you look at the body, really from both systems, um, energy should always be flowing. And I guess the best example I give to people is they get a dent in a can of tuna and they're like, I don't know if I should eat this. Like, what happened to the tuna? And they throw it out. Think about all the dents that happen in this body over the course of lifetime. So if you get hit by a baseball in your arm when you're 10 because you weren't looking or however it happens, and first of all, it's traumatic. So the scare of it hitting you stresses out the adrenals. So now you have an adrenal problem at the same time that you have a physical problem. Your body creates extra stress from that. You don't know exactly what's going on, but where that ball hit, if that's on the heart meridian, now, they may not see any blood. And if it was your head, they may take you for a CAT scan and they might not see any blood from that. But there's now a dent in that meridian. And so if we're talking the arm and there is a heart meridian right here, let's say now your heart is working 99% efficiently starting at age 10. And then you have a breakup when you're 18 or 23. They say it takes 20 years to take down a meridian or an organ from the meridian. So by the time people are 30 or 40, medical and society call it aging, but I'm calling it you now have blockages in a meridian, more than one usually, that have started to take down an organ or gland. That's when you start to see symptoms. And so it's really a long-term problem. And after my 39 years in this health industry, what I have learned in so many different areas, I have simplified it to 3 simple steps to health. And I'll just explain this because it will make a little more sense about the scars. The first step is you have to have a biofield. When you have a biofield, healing is limitless. And that relates to minerals and electrolytes and energy in your body. The second step is to make sure all your detox organs are working correctly. I call that your assembly line because if one guy is backed up, it backs up the whole system. So if you don't poop on a regular basis, it can back all the way up and you can have liver symptoms, but the problem may or may not be your liver. But if you have dents in your liver meridian or in your large intestine meridian, the problems, grow, they exponentially. And so once you have your detox organs working optimally, what we're really looking at for health is all of your scars, traumas, dental work, root canals, tattoos, and piercing over the course of your lifetime. And when we work on those, your overall health is so much better and you have better longevity and you have more permanent results to your healing. So the scars are really the roadmap to your health. All the other stuff, we're just going through it just to get there. And when a lot of people go to practitioners and they're like, oh, I did this and that and I felt great, but it came back, it's because you did not treat the real root of the problem. It wasn't your liver. It wasn't your intestine. It was actually your C-section scar compiled on top of all those other traumas from gymnastics and snowboarding and hitting your head or wrestling over the course of your lifetime. All those dents in the meridians. And so where you are today, your roadmap of your entire life is who you are.
If you're taking protein powder, you need to stop and listen to this. So the Clean Label Project recently tested 160 of the top selling protein powders in the US. So they tested 83% of the market, which is 70 different brands, and 40% of the products tested exceeded Prop 65 safety thresholds for lead. 21% had more than 2 times the Prop 65 safety thresholds for other heavy metals and toxins. 65% of chocolate protein powders tested over the Prop 65 safety thresholds, and 77% of plant-based protein powders tested above these thresholds as well. That's definitely not what you want from products that are supposed to support your health, particularly it's something that you're consuming daily. What this study found was that Purell's PW1 protein powder was awarded the #1 cleanest protein powder out of 130 different brands. So the choice is clear. That's why I love Purell's PW1 whey protein powder. Every batch is third-party tested against 200 plus contaminants. They don't sell any product unless it passes these tests, and they make all of their third-party tests available via a QR code. So you can scan this QR code and you can see exactly what is in this product and what this batch tested for. No other brand is doing that because they won't pass the test. Each serving gives you 21 grams of minimally processed, clean, high-quality whey protein powder from pasture-raised cow's milk. So no hormones, no GMOs, no pesticides, nothing to worry about. And I personally love the bourbon vanilla flavor. You get real vanilla seeds from bourbon vanilla from Madagascar, which is known as the best vanilla in the world. It's high quality. It tastes amazing. Even my daughter loves it. Even my daughter mentioned how she loves the vanilla flavor in it. And I work with Purell on an amazing deal for you. You can get 20% off, or if you choose the already discounted subscription, you get almost a third off the price. But you're only going to get this deal if you visit my exclusive link at purell.com/Wendy and use coupon code Wendy. So that's PUORI.com/Wendy, WENDY, and just use my code Wendy to get 20% off this amazing deal of the highest quality whey protein powder that's been tested for 200 plus contaminants. So you can't beat this for quality. This is my #1 recommendation for protein powder because the results are in. Purell is the #1 cleanest testing protein powder on the market. And that's why it's really important to, when you're trying to look at how to address a health issue, to try to avoid surgery at all costs. If you don't need it, I think there's a lot of very unnecessary surgeries that can be addressed. But usually not with a conventional medical doctor. Like you don't need your gallbladder out. Most people don't need their appendix out. Maybe if it's an emergency, yes. But there's, I've heard of a lot of people that get those two types of surgeries and then get scar tissue that causes intestinal blockages later, among other problems. And so and also all these women doing fillers all on their face and plastic surgery and all these voluntary treatments. People don't realize the long-term health consequences that can come from those procedures.
Right. And so take a scar from an appendectomy or a hysterectomy. So not only do we have to treat the scar, but we also have to treat the problem that was going on that made you need to get the surgery. Because just because they did the surgery and take out your thyroid or your gallbladder does not mean they fix the root of the problem. So the root of the problem might be in the gallbladder or the thyroid, but rarely. Usually it's in these meridians, these energy channels. It's like, why does my elbow hurt? Or people are like, why do I have cellulite? Well, let's trace the patterns through the body. The extremities are just an offshoot from the organs, but the meridians actually start in the fingers and the toes. So the first type of mud pack that we do, I know we won't go into that this second, but I'll introduce it, is we mud pack a finger and a toe. And I cannot explain how good your body feels. Like energy starts flowing just from going to the endpoints. And so it's really a big deal, to finish the point about the new scars. It's like every scar, liposuction. I've seen people that get biopsies. I'm like, do not get a biopsy unless you absolutely need it. And we can do energy testing and we can do functional medicine testing to figure out what's going on. But the medical doctors, traditional, are really good at blocking how you feel and cutting things out. That I look at it as that's the illness system. And what we do is wellness. And so I choose wellness. If there was a life or death situation, I'd be really excited if there was a medical doctor there. But for the rest of my life, I really focus on healing the body naturally and figuring things out rather than cutting and blocking.
Yeah, yeah, and it really takes someone being very proactive and, paying usually out of pocket for a functional practitioner to look at what your all your options are, and I really advise people look at all of your options, get as much info as you can before you go into a surgery, because I think many times people will find they don't need it, especially if it's like there's an injury or like their shoulder that got dislocated, or there's a lot of different types of surgeries that people go through where they just really need physical therapy. And then there's so many different examples we can go into, because the scar tissue and opening up the capsule of different joints really can cause a lot of long-term issues. And I know I've had plastic surgery. I had my breast implants and then a repair and then the implants taken out and liposuction and all this ridiculous stuff. I didn't need any of it. And I deal with a lot of scar tissue today that really annoys me. And I know that there's a lot of different, I feel like the scar tissue has expanded. And can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think scar tissue can expand and kind of grow, and people have problems with like fistulas when they have like tubes inserted in them. My father had a big problem with that. They could have problems with, like I mentioned, the intestinal blockages from abdominal surgeries, and because the scar tissue is literally growing at a slow rate, but albeit still growing.
Well, first of all, everybody has scar tissue in their intestines, whether you realize it or not. Scar tissue is always there. And we'll never know, is it because you fell 100 times as a child learning how to walk or playing any sport? Kids fall all the time. And just think about that for a second, because we're both moms. On the soccer field, the dads are always like, get up, you're fine. I'm like, no, when kids collide in their heads, the first thing I'm thinking is we need to laser them and heal them and do something quickly. Because if you treat something at the moment it happens, it doesn't become a long-term problem. But our society is programmed like, just get up, keep going, you're fine, unless they had to take them to the hospital. And so we all have scar tissue. And most people have poor digestion. And the thing that breaks down scar tissue are enzymes. In this case, it's not necessarily digestive enzymes, but I believe that if we had better digestion and we had better energy flow throughout our body, the body is a smart machine and it would repair. But once you start getting scar tissue, and then now that's created a blockage that I think the body just starts to build more in that area because there's less circulation. And the average person is not just laying there thinking, oh, let me just heal my energy. So they do other activities. And actually, when the kidneys are weak, people are more klutzy. And so they fall and they bang more. And there's two kidneys usually. I do have some people that have three or one, but the kidneys have to filter out every single thing that goes on you and around you, from your laundry detergent to the pollution in the air. And so most people, when I first see a new person, a new client, most people, half of their detox system is not working to an energy test. And so we're not detoxing on a regular basis the way we should be. I know you're talking about this all the time. And so our organs get clogged and they get tired and they get weak and they get feeble. And so anything can happen in the body. So it might be scar tissue, it might be infection starting to grow, yeast, all kinds of things can happen. And so I use the car as an example in a house all the time for people because I think they can understand that. We get a 3,000-mile oil change. If you don't, you know your car does not work as well. And so the times you're like, oh gosh, something's wrong with my car. I hope it's not 3,000 bucks. And you take it and you get the $30 oil change and you're like, ah, it's all better. So if you're 40 or 50 or 60 or 80 years old and you've never had a thorough oil change, think about that for a minute. And even some of these kids, especially today's kids with the amount of drugs and stuff and food poisons and air pollution they're exposed to, we can take that number all the way down to 18. By the time you're 18, if you haven't had an oil change, your body is not doing a good job filtering, emulsifying, detoxing, and eliminating waste. And so that stuff is just hanging out everywhere. Then you get a scar on top of it or a trauma, whether it's a physical cut or injury or a broken bone, or teenagers now are getting tattoos everywhere, so the ink is going into the body, plus it's breaking through the plane of the skin, so now that's considered a trauma as well. And if your kidneys are not working, now you're going to have brain fog, now you're going to have toxicity, and you're probably going to end up with more scar tissue building and building on top of each other.
I want to take a minute to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, True Energy Skincare. So they have an amazing serum that I am cuckoo about. I've been using their facial serum here for well over a year for a reason. This is just bar none my favorite product, and it's very, very light. It's just a serum you'll put on under your moisturizer. And the reason I use it is because it's a frequency-based skincare. So they have frequencies imprinted on this serum that improve collagen, improve elastin. Collagen is that support matrix in your skin that makes it look firm and juicy. And we lose that as we age. That accelerates rapidly after we hit menopause. You lose 30% of your collagen within 2 years after menopause. So I'm using everything I can get to improve collagen. And this has over 2,000 frequencies imprinted on it, and that are for skin nutrition to help the appearance of your skin, the fine lines, the age spots, and it will smooth out the texture of your skin as well. And this has been my secret weapon that I've been using to improve my skin, look and feel and health for, like I said, for well over a year. And so I'm not promoting this because they're a podcast sponsor. I'm promoting this because this is one of my secret weapons. I love this product and I use it every single night under my moisturizer. And this has no toxic ingredients in it whatsoever. and it has lots of nutritive ingredients as well. It's got fruit enzyme extracts, it's got oat kernel extract, it's got oat beta glucans, it's got beech bud extract, and it's got algae and chlorella in it as well. So lots of great nutrition in this, as well as the frequency enhanced aspects of it. Because any old product can moisturize your skin. That doesn't impress me. But the results you get from this are bar none, and that is why I highly recommend it. They have a very good offer for my listeners. Go to trytruenergy.com/Wendy. That's trytruenergy.com/Wendy and get a very, very special deal for my listeners. I wanted to talk a little bit about tattoos, because I see people, I love tattoos. I think they look really hot on men. I like them, especially Latin men. But but I look at people that have tons of tattoos, and I'm like, oh my God, they're so toxic. And my heart goes out to them, because I think they don't realize, what they're doing. But I didn't think about the scar tissue component on top of that, because of course that needle's going in there pretty deeply, and breaking through that dermis. So, can you talk about toxins in tattoo ink?
I mean, it is a xenotoxin at minimum, and it depends on probably how many colors and how much or how big the tattoo is. But let me first go back to um, your emotional state and your nutritional state at the time of the trauma, the tattoo, the piercing, whatever it is, dictates if it becomes problematic or not. And so if you're healthy and your detox assembly line is working well and you're in a good state and you're like, I'm going to go get a tattoo and I'm happy and relaxed, it's less likely to become problematic. If you're drunk or you're a mess or you're stressed or emotional and you're like, I'm going to get a tattoo, that one is probably going to cause more problems in your body. As we know, the emotional body is a big part of our health. And so we bring it down to that. So if you stay nutritionally savvy and your organs are working pretty well most of the time, it may or may not be a problem 30 years later. And so we do assess each one. Or I do when I work with somebody, I assess which ones are the problem. And so then there's the location, the back of the neck, way more sensitive, like where the meridians are. Are they and it's going to depend somewhat where the location is on the body, but somewhat on that person. So if you're a person with emotional stuff and heart trauma or some kind of bacterial infection in the heart that you don't even know exists, or you've had 15 bad breakups or deaths of loved ones, and you get a tattoo on a heart meridian, it's going to be more problematic for
Mm.
you.
That's a
And
really good differentiation, for sure. Because, just with detoxification, we talk about all day long how there's a bell curve. Some people drink and smoke till they're 100. They're great. They're no problem. They've got great detox genetics and everything's working fantastic. And other people, the other end of the spectrum, chronic complex illness, they just can't get better no matter what they do. Those people are accumulating toxins, they're not releasing them. So the same principles apply for people to get tattoos. If you're healthy, you can get rid of the heavy metals and the inks better than the next person.
right. And so one way to know if your body is handling the ink and the toxins is everything under here. So this double chin, if we want to call it, most of the time it's toxins. Toxins store in the parathyroid. And so you could see a skinny person with like a massive neck or a thinner looking person with big cellulite. Like toxins store in your fat cells, in your cellulite, and definitely in the parathyroid. I have never in my 29 years of my clinic had seen anybody that comes in with a thyroid problem that actually has a thyroid problem. It's usually the parathyroid and it's dental work or tattoos, piercings, trauma. The body is just holding on to toxicity. So I want to make that point clear to people that just because you get a tattoo on your arm and it looks fine doesn't mean it did not affect you. Your body, your detox organs have to filter all of that out. And so, yeah, every needle is a little trauma. So it depends on your state of mind and health on that day. And then, more than likely, some of that ink is releasing that area and going through the assembly line, and it's got to get filtered, pee, poop, sweat, and exhale it out.
Yes,
If,
yes.
yeah, if it's
Yeah.
not, I think a lot of people, how many people have low back pain? I mean, how many people have what we call angry liver or bloated? Like those are like your liver, gallbladder, and kidneys, your first three biggest components of your detox system. I mean, who's to say which one's more important? There's the other ones are important too, but like the main parts of your detox system, most people have symptoms related to them.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And then let's talk about root canals, because this is something that I've talked about many times on the show, but maybe not in the context of how they cause scar tissue. But let's just shine some light on that, because it's a huge problem. I mean, most people have a root canal, some people have five, and there's definitely an increase, a correlation with cancers and the number of root canals you have. And there's a lot of problem with traditional dental work, and functional dentists or the holistic dentists say don't get root canals, pull the tooth and get an implant. But I have concerns about that too. But talk about some of the issues with root canals.
Well, first of all, just because you get a root canal procedure doesn't mean they've gotten rid of the problem. I think that's the number one issue. A root canal means that there's so much infection that the nerve is dead. So when they do the root canal procedure, and I'm not a dentist by any means, so that this is just my knowledge, they don't get rid of the infection. They just cut the tooth out. So you still have this infection. And on my website, you can download the meridian from your teeth. There's meridians from your teeth to different organs, as well as your hands, feet, tongue. We can trace things back. So where your teeth are, it's probably also going to correlate to an organ or gland. But then they're going to inject something into your gums, more than likely, which usually stays because there's not a good pump through the gums. So unless you're pumping that out through your gums and your lymph, that medicine now stays in your mouth, and your body is probably trying to detox it all the time. And then, so that you have the injection, you have the infection, and then whatever the dental procedure is, and it may or may not be traumatic emotionally to you, and it may or may not be traumatic physically, but it's usually, the dentists say, they try to have virgin teeth that have no work on them. And so we use ozone to kill infection and, of course, internal nutrition. We also do topical mud therapy right on top of the teeth and the gums, and it pulls heavy metals out quickly. But anything from the mouth could end up causing a traffic jam in the neck, in the arm, in the shoulder. If you've already had a shoulder injury, now you just have even more neck pain. So everything from the belly button up energetically drains out the hands. And so anything that happens in the mouth could cause aches and pains down the arm. And if you already have a traffic jam there from just scar tissue, men, rugby, football, wrestling, anything, gymnasts maybe, now just because they did the root canal, again, doesn't mean they fixed the problem. This traffic jam is probably going to cause another problem in the same area or right next to it.
Are you taking collagen supplements? Well, check this out. So our friends at Organifi have sourced the best collagen on the planet, and you can get it with 20% off savings today too. So what is collagen? So it's the most abundant protein in our body. It's everywhere. It's in your muscles, your joints, your hair, your skin, your fingernails, everywhere. And it's one of the fundamental building blocks of life. And your body uses collagen constantly to keep itself refreshed and repaired. But as you get older, especially us women that are going into menopause, you can lose 30% of your collagen within the first 5 years of menopause. And that starts in perimenopause as well. So your body just stops making as much of it and you start losing it, especially as your estrogen levels come down. And so that's why consuming collagen is such a great idea every single day. So it gives your body a fresh supply to keep working at its best. And it's not only good for your hair, skin, and nails, it helps to support your gut and metabolic health, your immune system, your cardiovascular strength, and all of your muscles and moving parts too. And collagen's nothing new. It's one of the oldest supplements out there. And collagen supplements have been around for quite a while now. But what makes Organifi so special is it's all about the quality. So the non-organic collagens scare me. They're really, really problematic because they can be full of glyphosate and pesticides and other chemicals that you do not want to be taking on a daily basis, because not all collagens are the same. So it can come from many different sources, and the source can drastically impact its potency and effectiveness as well. And some manufacturers just go with the cheapest stuff that they can find and then add fillers and artificial flavors, and they still charge you a lot of money for that. So Organifi always goes the extra mile to ensure their quality is the best. So they blend 5 collagen types from 4 different sources, and they taste and test until it's perfect. And then they go even further to test for things like glyphosate residue and other sneaky toxins that can get into the mix. And after passing through all of these goalposts, it finally gets the Organifi seal of approval. So you can rest assured it's the highest quality and non-toxic. And I love that this company is a company that I can trust, that their products will be safe and effective exactly as they say they will be. And in the supplement world these days, that kind of honesty and transparency is getting harder to come by. So if you've never tried collagen, now is a great time to start. And if you're already taking it, now is a great time to switch to a better brand, upgrade what you're doing right now. So you and your entire body are going to love Organifi. Collagen is something that I take on a daily basis. It's been a part of my supplement routine for the past 5 years since I went into menopause. And so I can't recommend it highly enough. And so now let's talk about saving you some cash as well. Here's what you do. Go to Organifi.com/Myers Detox and put in coupon code Myers Detox to get 20% off. So go to Organifi, ORGANIFI.com/MYERS DETOX. And don't forget the Myers Detox coupon code as well. You'll save an extra 20% off by putting in my special coupon code Myers Detox. So like I said, collagen is one of those things that I take every single day. It's one of the most important parts of my anti-aging protocol, the things I'm doing to fight off the clock. So for me, taking clean collagen is really important. It's hard to find. So I highly, highly recommend Organifi collagen. I just wanted to kind of illuminate that a little bit because I think people they don't always think about the root canals and the problems those can be causing. So let's talk about mud packing. So you mentioned that a couple of times. So this is and I want to talk about and other solutions you might have for remedying scars. I have a couple thoughts too. But let's talk about the mud packing and what that is exactly and the benefits.
So it's exactly like it sounds. It's actual mud. You get to be a kid again. It is messy. And it's an ancient remedy. I'm not the first person to invent it. I think they started this in India and in Ayurveda. And some of the first mud that I have comes from India. So we literally take dehydrated mud powder and we mix it with a mineral serum that has algae in it. And sometimes we mix it specifically with something with chlorella, so it's a heavy metal detox and it puts minerals and nutrients into the body. And we literally take a dry and wet ingredient, mix it. It looks like chocolate pudding, and you put it topically on the body, and it pulls 50% of the toxins out instantly. And the pack is depending on where it is in the body and what we're doing, because there's a few different ways to do the packs, anywhere from 3 to 9 minutes. And so I have done probably 1,000 to 1,500 mud packs in my lifetime, or maybe even more. I can usually do 20 to 25 on one person in one sitting when they're healthy enough to do that. Just for this example, that 90 minutes is equivalent to 6 months of detoxing that the average person does. It is fast. It is potent, it is strong, and it could make someone feel worse if they're not nutritionally savvy. So it's a lead up. That's why it's step 3 in my protocols, because we got to get the organs to work well before we do the mud packing. So it's topical. And so we have a different mud that we use topically than we use in the mouth. And we can use it in the mouth, we can use it up the nose, and we can use it inside the genital area. And it just pulls the toxins out. And what we'll do before we put it on is we'll tap the area. We might go into an infrared sauna to release some of the toxins to the surface. We do this thing called the rotational swirl. And what we're doing is we're trying to drive toxins out of storage more to the surface. The mud acts like a magnet. We call it maximum cation exchange. So it's got the positive charge and the toxins are negative, and it literally pulls the toxins out. And we know things move from an area of high to low concentration. So the mud is on your body, acting like a magnet, and the toxins are moving from an area of high to low concentration. So it's really quick, it's really effective. Just to give an example of how 2 people can feel, last month I mudded a 42-year-old woman, has a little child, has had a lot of stress in her life. I've been working with her for 10 years. It's the first time we mudded her because I haven't given her permission. And we did it. She felt horrible after. She didn't poop the next day, and she ended up sick, her and her daughter, for a few days. The next day, I mudded a 55-year-old woman who never poops in her life. Her kids are more grown. She doesn't have as much stress in her current life. She never felt better. She had the best poops of her life for 4 days after we mudded her. And I probably did less packs on the younger person. And what I did with this older woman, not that she's old, but she is 55. She told me that day when we were mudding that she fell on her kneecaps out of a car and got dragged for a couple of minutes when she was like 6. And she had never told me this. I've been working with her for 17 years. And it just came out like, it's amazing how people remember their traumas suddenly at a certain moment. And so what we found was both of her knees had no energy in them, and the left leg, from the top of the foot all the way up the shin, there was one pathway along one meridian that had no energy. So we started the mud at the foot. We did a pack on the foot, and we did a bunch of packs just on her shin up to her one knee. So that knee being blocked down to her shin, think about how many times you use your feet in a day and you walk, that was shutting down her colon. We mud packed her foot and her shin, and she had 4 days of the best poops of her life.
That sounds awesome.
So, yeah, so I use energy testing, QRA, and the O-ring. I don't like the arm. I do the O-ring because it's more accurate and been in 55 medical journals. And so I use this energy test to determine, things like that, where we need to pack, what's going on in the body. And so for her, it was just from her knee down, changed her entire life.
That is so fascinating. One of my practitioners brought up mud packing to me, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. But yeah, I'd never really have heard it explained or really like looked into that. But yeah, that's really fascinating. It makes sense because, clays are used as binders, and people can take those certain types internally, and they're gonna attract toxins, just like you mentioned with the cation exchange and attraction to remove toxins out of the body, just like a binder. So it perfectly makes sense.
Yeah, and so the pack will pull about 50% of the toxins out, is what we say. I mean, how will we really know unless we measure? And so we definitely take some binders and aloe or salt, or maybe charcoal bentonite clay. We also want to make sure that after we do this mud packing session, that we get the rest of the stuff that we've stirred up out of the body. So maybe a coffee enema. The mud packing procedure, the way I have it outlined is you can't do it until you're nutritionally savvy and we know that you're pooping and sleeping well and sweating, or detoxing on some level. And then once we do it, we take a few different nutrients before. We do we take some aloe or salt right before every pack that you put on your body. We want to make sure the stomach stays on while you're detoxing, because some people, if the stomach shuts down, they have a poor experience. They don't feel as good after. And then after the mud packing session, once you eat, we take more minerals and electrolytes, and we soak in the ocean or in ocean salt, not Epsom salt, to be clarified. Ocean salts, also with like bentonite clays and things. And we either soak our hands and our feet or our entire body. And that way we pull more toxins out. And for those that are savvy and into it, we recommend coffee enemas. So that way your mud packing session actually lasts about a week. You soak right after. Some people soak 2 times in a row, right after and later that night. But I always recommend soak again 2 to 3 days later and 2 to 3 days after that, because nothing is one moment and done. It's like you're going to now be heightened detoxing and heightened releasing for a few days. And so you'll also take a higher level of some of those binders and nutrients for a few days and go to sleep early to make sure that you wake up in your new body. It's pretty phenomenal to wake up in your new body. So I've done, as I've said, many packs over the years. When we didn't have the system dialed so perfectly. So I've done numerous wasteful packs for 45 minutes and so, but never wasteful. You're always pulling something out. And so after a session like I just described with this woman, her foot to her shin, imagine going to it like a yoga class and you're like, oh my God, my whole entire leg moves differently. I feel different muscles. I can open and move in a totally different manner. It's pretty profound.
Yeah, because it makes sense. The heavy metals are attracted to these areas of the body's depositing their garbage. It's just one more area that can be a garbage disposal where the body will put toxins. And so the mud packs, are they also physically breaking down the scar tissue in any way, or how do they help the scars heal at all?
I believe they're breaking down the scar tissue because the nutrients that are going in, you are absorbing. And they're definitely making the areas less tender for people. They're making the scars closer to invisible. They're shrinking the scar. So if someone has a scar right away, I recommend, so I'll be the example, C-section. Didn't want one, had one.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
yeah. And anyway, that's a whole nother story. But so got a C-section, staples, the whole deal. And so as soon as I could, well, right away, I started using laser and light therapy, red, infrared, and violet light. I have my little favorite. And so right away, healing the area, our cells communicate through light. As soon as I could touch the area, I started using castor oil. So castor oil is much more gentle, and that's my starting place for people that are not ready to do mud. Castor oil, the scar, and get the castor oil in, and once you're able to like twist and turn the scar and start breaking it down with your fingernails, you don't want that scar to get keloided. So we have ways to prevent it, and then we'll talk about the treating for the people that already have it. So then as soon as I was not nursing, I started doing mud therapy. So first, now you have a C-section, you could mud therapy, but now you're detoxing and it's going to go into your milk. So you either have to pump and dump or soak a heck of a ton to really get it out of your body. And I'm pretty sure I ended up having a trauma when my son was about 8 months. And the only way to heal my body was to start doing some mud therapy. And I was pumping and dumping and soaking, but he didn't really want the milk anymore. So it was a problem. So I would not suggest that for anyone if you can avoid it. So once you start doing the mud therapy, like you can't see my C-section scar. I can't even find it. So that's what we're looking for people in general. If you have a scar, so first of all, we only mud pack and we only work on a scar about 1 inch at a time. So if there is a scar that's 2 inches or more, 100% of the time there's infection in there. And so what happens is that if you're a woman with that C-section, your kids get older, you start working out. Every time you're doing crunches, twists, squats, lunges, that garbage can is like secreting toxins out of your body. You have a scar on your forearm or your arm and you're working out or raking or anything, toxin gets secreted into your body. Because remember, the body used that as a garbage can for however many years that's been there, especially the ones that are thick and keloided. And your skin is your biggest organ. So if you have a scar that is at all visible, there is some variance of a traffic jam there. And so you want to start working on it to break down some of the toxins and the keloids and the scar tissue, but just a small amount at a time. So what I recommend, I'll give you the castor oil example because that's easier for people. It's gentle, it's affordable. And especially if you do it in the bathtub, the shower, or the sauna, then you don't have to sit with a pack on it for hours because most people won't do that. And so I have people put castor oil on their detox organs 3 to 4 times a week before they shower, bathe, or sauna. So under the right breast, everything below the navel, front and back, pretty much covers most of your detox organs. For those of you that remember, you could do your thymus up here. And then once a week, you pick a scar and during one of those sessions, you also do the scar. But if you do the scar without the detox organs, you're going to cause this traffic jam again. But if you do a piece of the scar and all your detox organs, when you dump it out of the scar and it goes circulating, at least you're also nourishing the rest of your organs. So that's how I have people start to work on scars, is 1 inch at a time with all of the rest of your organs getting tended to. And then of course you're doing your hopefully internal nutrients and sometimes soaking.
So this episode is brought to you by Chef's Foundry. They've got a fantastic line of cookware called P600. It's totally non-toxic. I think people don't realize that when they're cooking, most people's cookware is adding toxins to their healthy food, that people spend so much money on healthy organic food and then cook it in toxic cookware. And so that includes cast iron, which I do not recommend. It adds way too much iron in a form that we can't absorb. People use aluminum cookware, which is very inexpensive, but it's used at most restaurants, giving us tons of aluminum. People are also using ceramic cookware, which can leach toxins into your food. And not to mention the nonstick cookware. It just has so many PFAS or PFAS that is so toxic. It's one of the forever chemicals. So you really have to pay attention to what you're cooking in. So that's why I recommend the P600 line by Chef's Foundry, so that you can have peace of mind when you're cooking and you're not getting any nasty chemicals like lead or cadmium or nickel or PFAS in your healthy food. You can get a special discount for my listeners by going to bit.ly/Myers Detox. So that's bit.ly/Myers Detox, MYERS DETOX, to get an exclusive discount just for my listeners. I want you to be thinking about what you're cooking your food in, and I highly recommend the P600 line by Chef's Foundry. And can you talk about the mechanism of the castor oil and how that's helpful for detox?
Castor oil is like a nutrient. It's like nourishing, but it's also acting like the mud in a way. It's like gently pulling some of the toxins out. And so it increases circulation. It makes people feel better. I've had people, I mean, I can give all the scientific information, but I think people usually want the layman's terms. You feel better. I have clients that tell me castor oil is magic. They've gotten rid of everything under the sun in their body from using castor oil. It's something I put people on right from the beginning because we can take nutrients for your liver, your gallbladder, your kidney, your intestine, or you can do $15 bottle, all of the organs at the same time in one remedy. There are other remedies. Sometimes I use various essential oils, and I think sometimes cupping or some other treatments might work. But castor oil is just one of the ones that I use because it comes in the nutrition department. So it's something I was exposed to. It's from a bean. It's healthy. It has to be in a glass or dark bottle, blocking light, and it has to be free of hexane and all kinds of excipients. So you got to be really careful about that. A lot of castor oils people buy are in a clear bottle. So dark bottle, good castor oil. Your skin is your biggest organ. Whatever you put on it gets absorbed in 20 seconds, and it's going to do magic. I mean, I think these days, my castor oil TikTok video out of anything I've done in the past 30 years was the one that like got trillions of views. And I have customers and regular clients and people, members of my health club from that video. So I'm not the only one talking about it. It's becoming popularized. People are hip to the idea of castor oil grows your eyelashes or whatnot, but it goes way beyond that. It goes in, it gently starts to put nutrition in to heal the organ. I think it's like a panacea. So it gives the organs whatever it needs, whether it's a little push to get toxins out or a little energy. And, because it's so soft, it just goes in nicely.
I wish it would just wasn't so damn sticky. That's the only thing that annoys me. But it's but that's a good idea to put it on. I never thought about putting it on and taking a shower
Oh, I
because
don't
it
have
seemed like
I almost never sell the cotton flannels, and I have probably less than 0.5% of my clients doing that because everyone showers or bathes and a lot of people go in the sauna. So when I go in the sauna, the first couple of minutes I'm breathing and then I'm rubbing castor oil in. And when I go in the shower, same thing. Bath, I have my clients, it takes a few days till people remember. And then once they start doing it, they're very consistent. 20 seconds, things go into your body. And you're usually standing in the shower the first 2 or 3 minutes going, ah, that feels so good. It's already in your body. And when we do the bath and the sauna, I liken it to like how we're taught to do a breast exam as women. I have people start like massage their body. You put the castor oil on your organs, and then maybe you're tapping, or maybe you're swiping or squeezing, and people are like, "Oh, that's tender. Oh, that's hot," and they start to be more body aware. So it's kind of like got these other hidden agendas in it. People start paying more attention to their body when they start using it.
yes, yes. And then let's talk about your course. You have a mud packing course. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'm very excited to have launched that. I scoured the internet and nobody has a mud therapy course. And it's such a huge part of what I do and how I have reversed my age to that of a 12-year-old, my telomeres, twice before any biohacking equipment that I've ever had. So I have to give credit to the mud therapy and all the nutrients. And so I have some other courses on my website, but if you go to the course drop down menu, you'll see we introduce you to why you do mud therapy, how to do it, what you'll need, both the nutrients and just towels, etc. And we've only launched a few so far, starting with fingers and toes, and then hands and feet. And then the next one's coming are arms and legs, and then the actual scars. And so I put those out there first because I know people. I've had it happen here. I send them home with mud and they put it on their liver and they're like, oh, this feels good. Let me do it here and there and there. No, you want to have maximum benefits. So you pack one spot at a time with one purpose. You take it off and you move on to the next place. And so, because I'm putting this out there to the public and I just described the difference of two people that I work with, horrible and amazing, I wanted to make sure that people start with super basics. So mudding a finger and a toe, and I can explain that in a second, but way more gentle. You could, if you feel terrible after that, slow down. Slow and steady wins the race. So I figure giving people like a little baby, a preschool version, the beginning starting place of your mud therapy. If you feel good after that, you can move on. And so first, we're looking at opening your channels. We're just trying to get flow for all those people that are not detoxing well or regularly or have tons of scars. You're going to feel better just by opening up the flow of energy, just like you would if we gave your liver some support or your kidneys. So we mud the finger and the toe, and it's what I have found. So, by the way, the reason we do this is because I've done a million other health things on people's bodies. And then people are like, I'm still bloated. Like, I did everything you said. I've been diligent. I'm sleeping, etc. And then I went to yoga last night and now I look 5 months pregnant. 6 of that person's toes were reflexing to and shutting down her small intestine. So similar to the girl with the knee and the shin. So we mud, uh, it's anatomical man. So your hands are facing forward and it's the thumb and the pinky. So it's the corresponding digit. It's your pinky finger and your big toe. And so you mud those two at the same time. So in that case, you have 2 packs is one session. And so we put the mud on, and then instantly you feel better. It's on for about 5 minutes on a finger and a toe. If you yawn, because energy is always moving, so sometimes while someone's mudding, they have this giant yawn, you're done. If you were with me, I would do O-ring testing, and you would see that we would point right at the finger with the mud, and the mud would test strong. And as soon as the pack is done, when you're done, it tests weak because now it's toxic in the mud. And so we rinse it off right away. You never want that mud ever back on your body. And then you move on to the next pack. So the first course is walking you through fingers and toes, and then hands and feet. And we do the hands and feet the same way I just described the fingers and toes. We do the palm of your hand. So, by the way, a mud pack is never bigger than the palm of your hand. Your hand, my hand, a giant person's hands, like they can do bigger packs. So whether you put it on your liver or your kidney, so we pack the top of the hand, the front of the hand that I'm showing you, and anatomical man, the top of the foot. So first we do fingers and toes, then we do hands and feet. You're already going to feel way more open regardless of how many scars you have. The next step would be packing your detox organs, and then we move into scars. And so I'm really working towards simplifying it. There's a lot of different ways we can pack the scars. And so I'm giving people the warm-ups, the baby steps, get used to mudding, make it part of your medicine chest kit that you can use this as a treatment, and we'll go from there. And so the mudding of your detox organs, I have people do that monthly. You can, once you get past the fingers and toes, and I know some people will skip the fingers and toes, I know they will, it'll be okay. You just do your detox organs. You'll feel better. You'll have even better results if you do fingers and toes first. And if you don't have anyone to test you, you can do all of the fingers and toes. It's not going to be a big deal.
So for anyone listening that really wants to detox their body, go to heavymetalsquiz.com. I created a quiz for you. It only takes a couple of seconds. Based on some lifestyle questions, you can get your toxicity score and get a free video series that answers all of your frequently asked questions about how to detox your body. Check it out, heavymetalsquiz.com. And do you sell this mud on your website?
We sell mud kits. Yeah, we sell the mud kit, and then there's some extras, in case you want to get some extra nutrients. So yes, all of that is for sale on the website as of today.
Okay,
As of
great.
this morning.
All right, fantastic. And tell us your website again.
It's julieehealth.com.
Okay, great. And let's talk about some other ways to address scars as well. Like you mentioned, cupping. I love cupping. I've done cupping for a few years now, and I go to a place nearby here, and they have there's infrared cups you can use, and I think it's great to break up scar tissue, break up fascia, and has lots of different benefits. So that's another way.
I think that there are thousands of types of therapies. Something new pops up, Jin Shin Jitsu. I mean, there's so many things. Everyone feels better from their own type of treatment, right? Like acupuncture never did anything for me. It made me not feel nauseous when I was pregnant. For the time I was there, the second I left, I was nauseous again. So, some people love acupuncture. So I think across the board, people should try things, be open to try different types of techniques. I am sure mud therapy is not the only one. It's the only one I have found to be permanent. When you really do what you need to do on a scar correctly, that never comes back as a weak energetic area in your body. I have never tested anyone that's done cupping thoroughly, but I think some level of like an esthetician, the way she breaks down a scar on the face, they use needles and they're puncturing it. I'm sure there's something to acupuncture if someone really worked on a scar, but I would want them to also work on all your detox organs. I do craniosacral therapy and lymphatic massage. My body loves that. I have similar results from that as I do from mud therapy in terms of how I feel. Traffic jams are open, I feel better. And I feel like I can access deeper parts of my body from that. So I don't know another treatment that works as good as mud for permanent results, but I believe all these other treatments open you up, and then you might, if they work and it's permanently healed, amazing. If not, then when you put the mud on it, then you're going to be done
Hmm.
healing that area.
Okay, fantastic. Is there any other treatments you recommend for scars that you think are really effective?
Well, I think, historically people talk about vitamin E or wheat germ oil on the scar. And so I don't think there's any harm in doing that. I do believe that that has worked in the past before I started mud therapy, but I've been using mud therapy for like 25 years, so I almost don't remember other treatments. But I think the castor oil, laser for sure, working with the laser. I use this little handheld laser. I don't have you ever seen this one? The
Mm,
scalar laser. It
no, I
has
haven't.
it has red, infrared, and violet light. So I have people use, so it's pretty easy. It fits in my pocket, fits in my purse. I take it everywhere I go. So I injured myself in Costa Rica. I had my laser and my nutrients with me. I was 100% better in less than 24 hours, because mud is like a whole production, right? So I think of it like, castor oil is messy. You have to do it in the shower. Nutrients you can take anytime. Laser you can do anywhere. Mud is messy and you need a lot more time to do it. So we have to have these different phases of what can I do, right? I think that light therapy is one of the best, I think, for anywhere, anytime, any day, and easy. And there's only more and more devices coming out.
What is
Um,
that device? The name of that?
this is the scalar wave laser. You can also see this on my website, and there's a description. I think everyone that's in the book, The Secret, has one. Um, Famous yoga people, some NFL teams, and I've had this for 12 years, and now I own five. And so you could put it on a scar, or you put it on your liver or your kidney, and in just 4 minutes, it's like you just start yawning and relaxing. It puts you into still point, so it was designed by a yoga guy slash craniosacral therapist whose father was a Harvard doctor. And he got rid of dental infection using a laser and ended up creating this. So I love this because it drops and bangs and still works. And it fits in every bag, and I can take it with me everywhere I go. So as soon as you have a trauma, I took it to my son when he played Little League. They dive on like practically cement and into each other, into the bag or whatever. One kid had a really bad injury. I went into the dugout with 10-year-olds and I was the crazy lady with the laser, but then it's not a problem. It decreases inflammation and pain instantly. So I think as far as remedies and things we can have with us at all times. I think light therapy, topical castor oil, super easy, advanced mud therapy, and then, of course, all your internal nutrients. I think for acupuncture and all the other things, you have to go to somebody. Like, I'm empowering people to like have a little healing center in your home. You have to have tools. If I'm in another country, the last thing I want to do is start looking for a practitioner or a store to get something if someone in my circle is injured. I want to have tools with me.
Yes, that's why
So,
we're doing this podcast, so that people,
yes,
giving people the tools to empower them. Because yeah, for me, I don't want to have to outsource or go to anyone. I love to have tons of tools ready to go to deal with anything, and it's amazing. Like my daughter never has to go to a doctor or never like a medical doctor. And I rarely go to doctors. Maybe I go to a doctor to get my hormones, my hormone replacement therapy and things like that. But other than that, I've got it covered. I totally got it covered, and I love that. I love having the peace of mind with all the tools that I talk about on the podcast to address whatever issue. It's incredibly empowering.
absolutely. And this might be our second conversation. So my son is 20 and in his second year of college, and he's never been to a medical doctor, and he's never missed a day of school for illness ever, like from preschool through all the way. Like, I
That's
mean,
great.
it's doable. You can do it. Anyone can do it. And so I have a lot of do it. My whole website is a do it yourself. I walk people through building a biofield and assembly line and ordering their own lab tests. So I work remote with people if they need help, but it's also there for people that just want to do DIY. I think that that's where people are at right now. Most people are like, okay, the medical system has failed them or they're scared of it. And not everyone, but most people are looking for what can I do to stay in the wellness and outside of the illness. So I love having tools as well.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us what your website is again and how people can work with you? I'm sure a lot of people listening are going to want to work with you one-on-one after hearing this or take your course. What is your site again?
My site is julieehealth.com. And there's the DIY section and the courses. My Instagram, YouTube are all Julie eHealth.
Okay, great. And what is the mud
Yeah.
packing course called?
It's called mud packing.
Okay, mud packing.
Mud pack. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
You'll see it. There's a course. One of the toolbars is courses, drop down. You'll see it. And there's a couple of other courses in there. And I make all my courses really inexpensive. I want people to have access.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, no, they're less than like $50 or totally accessible. So
30.
that's
Yep.
great. Well, Julie, thank you so much for coming on the show. That was fantastic. I really loved this conversation we were having, and I'm like, I need to try some mud packing. I have, it's one of the detox things that I haven't done before, so I'm definitely gonna.
That's so amazing.
I don't know
Because
why.
you're the
Just
detox expert. So
yeah,
here we go.
just has escaped me. I'm trying to do more difficult, expensive things like most people. So yeah, I think I'm gonna order some off your website right now.
Sounds great.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. And everyone, I'm Dr. Wendy Myers. Thanks for tuning every week to all the experts that I have on the show every week. My goal is just to help you upgrade your health, give you some ideas, some new ways of thinking and approaching your health so that you can get the health results that you are looking for. So thanks for tuning in.
The Myers Detox podcast is created and hosted by Wendy Myers. This podcast is for information purposes only. Statements and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Wendy Myers and the producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.